I don't really know what I'm going to say. For a while, I thought I'd just start by reading books out loud or poems or talking about ideas. I have a book of speeches here I've been practicing. I have the news I could involve myself in. I have philosophies, ideas, books galore. I could talk about my day. I could talk about what I want to do. I could talk about something I heard. I could talk about something I dreamed of. And I don't really want to talk. I've been putting off this idea for, I don't know, months now. But I'm not sure what else to do. I could do all sorts of things, I suppose. Continue writing, continue painting, try to sell some of my artwork, go find a job somewhere and climb a ladder. Find a job teaching English in some far off corner of Asia again. And travel around. I could join a circle, join a club, join an event. I could put myself out there. I could try to do something. And I've done a little bit of that here and there. Even over the last few months, I've done a few things like that. But it doesn't continue. It doesn't keep up. Like there's nothing that draws me on. There's nothing that I feel I can do every single day without fail, except what I'm already doing, which is writing. And sometimes I do artwork. A lot of times I listen to music. But it's not fulfilling, right? Like it's not something I feel I want to do or I need to do. And there's all sorts of things I should be doing. There's all sorts of activities I should be involved in, all sorts of events and ideas. I should be out there grabbing a job. I should be out there studying. I should be out there finding people and making new friends and all this and that and so on and so on. But frankly, I've done that. I have done that for years and decades, and I'm still where I am here. And I could double down on that, I suppose. I could pretend I'm normal and have a plan and fit myself to that plan. But I don't find myself doing that. After dealing with grandma and dementia and madness and seeing where it all ends, right? After talking with my own older relatives and seeing where a family and a job and a planned out normal life ends, it's just not enough. Not something I want to do. It's not something I want to end up with. And I can keep going in that direction. I can keep trying, aiming for something that I know not what. I don't know what it feels like. But maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe that's what you do is you graduate college, you find a job, you find a family, you find a career, you find a hobby you can get into, you find music you love, a book you adore, a pattern or a symbol or an idea. I know people get into churches, people get into clubs, people start learning martial arts, and that really hits them. It really works for them. They start learning how to knit or sew or forge steel and iron. They learn blacksmithing. They join a soccer club. They coach football. They all do these things. They get into programming and game making, and some of them don't do that at all, right? They just go about their lives, their normal days, working on the weekdays, ending up on the weekends, engaged in something. They board games or friends or travel. And maybe they're happy. But I don't think I would be if I did that. I don't think I would be happy if I just continued living for the sake of living, right? There's that old saying, power for the sake of power. And I don't think that anything for the sake of itself, I don't feel that doing anything for the sake of itself is really going to be worthwhile. I don't think it ends anywhere. I think that breaking that cycle of dependence on something is just done by accident at the end. It's just done by, or it happens because of natural events, because the world changes and we don't even notice it as we continue on. But if you step back for a minute, if you wander into the woods and live like a hermit, and then you come back and you realize that friends have their own lives, that relatives are moving on, that they didn't really need you at work, that everything you created or worked on is ignored in a way. Like, you don't come back from the woods into fame and happiness again. You don't come back into a plan. You come back into the world feeling as if it skipped you over, feeling as if you are nobody and nothing, and you could make yourself something. You could pretend to be something. You could jump back into the stream and start walking around on the bottom of that lake of dreams. You could climb mountains, ford rivers. But what's the point of it in the end, right? What's the point if you have to force yourself to do it? And I, as far as I can tell now, have to force myself to do it. I have to stand there and just keep going on, closing my eyes to where I think it ends up, forgetting how tired I am, and just keep going and going and going and working and seeking and finding, and it never ends, right? I talk with people 10 years my age and 10 years younger than me, 10 years older, 20 years older, 30 years or 40 years older than me. And they're tired. Some of them still keep going, right? But what keeps them going is either a force of habit or some other person they're in love with that keeps them grounded on earth, or some hobby that they really, touch God with or something, right? Touch some holy spiritual force which imbibes them with motion and power, with living flesh with spiritual vigor and so on. And those are the sort of people I feel I envy, the ones who know what they want to do, know what they like to do or be, and who keep chasing after that and finding it again and again. That's one of the three paths, right? The other paths, the other ways where it's habit, Aristotelian habit that masquerades as the good, which is really only the okay, which is really only the acceptable. And if that's my life, what's the point? Is survival the real point? Is just making it here the real point? Right? I don't have anyone to look after. I don't have any duties. I have no calls. I have no ideas about what I want to do or be that really draw me. I just flitter around. That's what I do. I read books. I listen to music. I write things and have an idea, and then the next day a new idea and a new idea and a new idea, and I leave it all behind me, and before I know it, I've created something. But I didn't do it intentionally. I didn't aim for it. And if I did something with my life right now, I feel like I would be aiming for it. I would be trying to do it. And what I've been trying to do for a while is just find out what I can do every day. What can I do every single day without fail, without giving up? Doesn't matter how tired I am. Doesn't matter what happens to me. Doesn't matter how much pain I'm in. Doesn't matter if someone dies. Doesn't matter if the sky lights go out. And I'm crawling around in the mud just seeking for some silver to get me through the next day. And then I say and a lot, but really I feel that's hypocritical of me, right? I can stand here in my room and talk to a camera using a microphone I bought and with a book that I own. I can do this and no one's pounding on the door asking for rent because I'm 3 months overdue. I don't have to get up in the next morning because I have to work for some company that doesn't care if I live or die. And one of the ways out of that, I feel, is human connection, right? With individual humans and individual people. And I can do that. I can find that. I found it before. But at the same time, I feel as if I'm holding something back, right? I'm being quiet. And it's not entirely real, right? You have that sense that no one's really there for you because you're not really there for anyone else. You're always holding back. You're always planning and thinking and evaluating. I'm always, emotionally speaking, one step away from caring. Or caring completely, at least. You know, you have this sense of ennui, this sense of purposeness you get after coming into civilization again from the woods, after seeing sane people, after mad people. So I don't know what I'm going to do. But what I've managed for the past 2 years or so has been to write and to use words to make something, to construct from the air an idea which takes form in English letters and thereby transmit an idea into the universe around me. And some of it I say to other people, some of it I say to myself. Most of it reflects back to me, enters my subconscious, and comes out again months or years later in a different form, as I recognize an idea that I said or I thought, but now that I've evolved and realized. You know, this is like a poem you listen to, right? You might listen to a poem when you're a kid, when you're young, and it means something. And then a year later, it means something else. And then 10 years later, it means something else. And 15 years after that, it means something else. And every time you go through Invictus, every decade, it's different. And you can explain it, of course, but you don't really get it. It doesn't enter your mental matrix until you have lived with an understanding of that poem or that idea or that feeling and evolved along with it. Until you have incorporated it entirely into your own soul structure. So you need time. And I feel as if I could talk for a while longer. I could whine about how terrible something is or how great it is. And my opinions would be worthless, would be kind of useless. Because I haven't worked those years. I haven't had those kids. I haven't suffered those pains. Not as deeply or as strongly or as long as others have. But what I have seen, I have seen. What I felt, I have felt. And just because I'm young and foolish and dumb and ignorant doesn't mean I don't have opinions, doesn't mean I don't live and exist. And I still have to act, right? There's no standing back. There's no pretending I'm not involved because I'm a part of this world. So what am I doing here? What am I saying? Why am I speaking? Why am I talking to a camera? Because I intend to do this every day for at least a while. I intend to try and do this every day for at least a while. Just stand and talk about whatever comes in my head. I'll grab a book or I'll grab a news article. I'll grab a piece of philosophy. I'll talk about something that happened to me. I'll make something up. I'll rhyme and touch and munch and eat food of some sort. Intellectual food, I hope, not literal. And just see if that's something else I can do every day. Seeing if I can take the next step of speaking instead of merely writing, of acting instead of being, of existing instead of stumbling over my own feet, hitting the ground and not knowing if I'm eating vegetables or meat. Does that even make sense? I suppose it does to me in some part of my mind, in some part of my history. It refers to certain ideas I've had and events which have happened or will happen, and signifiers and signs, right? Vegetables are grown from the earth. They're green. They're crunchy, and so on, right? They represent something like Gaia's reach towards sky or something like that, right? And meat is the flesh of animals, which is, it's blood red and it's the beating heart. It involves pain just to grab it and take it away, and it's something about the ever evolving circle of life. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. I'm talking without rhyme or reason or idea or a plan. And tomorrow I'll have more of a plan. Tomorrow I'll have something to start with, at least, that I want to talk about. But we will start with just whatever this is. Me being confused and weird and saying "and" a lot, just concatenating those plans and ideas on top of each other, hoping that the resulting statement of however long this recording is for day one becomes. And hopefully I'll be able to look at this and react to it in some way, right? I'll be able to reflect on my actions in 6 months or a year or 10 years from now and say, at least I did something. At least I existed. At least I said something, even if it didn't make sense, even if it wasn't right, even if I'm not talking to anybody at all. I can talk to myself. I can talk to my future self. And maybe I can gain something from that, some sense of pride or hope that there's a point to this.